Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Thursday Thoughts. We are having a problem with our service provider, which is a streaming engine that we use. Let me just turn this light on, and that is absolutely not working for us. So I'm sorry, it looks like we're now actually live on our streaming server. Jamie, can you check our website and make sure that we are live? If somebody in the chat could tell me that you can see me live on our website, it would stop me having a meltdown. So everyone, okay, lots of comments. Yes, we're live. Thank you. Okay, I don't understand. I've had to try and do some restarts and all sorts here. Technology's fantastic when it kind of works, but anyway, we are where we are, and you know, it's outside of my control. So the website is up. Please keep going. Okay, I will keep going. I will fight through like the trooper that I am. So Michael Ingledew from TDW, I think you all know who I am, and hopefully I don't need any introduction at this point. And welcome to those of you who are on our website. I see there's a stack of you on our website. I don't know how many of you are joining us on YouTube. Let's have a, so there's a few of you on YouTube. We're not on Facebook. So if you're sat on Facebook, we're not there. And, but I have put a link in there. Now, in the UK here, very, very hot, very, very sunny. And when you're in my little shack, so it gets even hotter. So I might end up having to turn on the air conditionings. I will fight through, and I need to lose a little bit of weight, but if it gets too hot and I start brow sweating, I will be turning the air conditioning on. So hope you can live with that. So we're going to do the normal. Going to go through the news that I think's interesting, anything that I believe might deliver an opportunity, anything that I think might be interesting to us in the market. Like I say, very, very dry and hot here, so I've got some water with me as well. So if I need to take a quick slurp, you know, apologies for that. So we're going to go through the news, some industry news, member news, and then some TDW news, which is important at the back end. And hopefully we'll get through this in the 30 minutes that we allow ourselves to do this. So I'm just going to change some camera angles, and we will go into the news now. So first and foremost, Leonardo, a company I was with earlier this week, and I'll talk about that very, very shortly. They have thrown their hat into the ring for the new Turkey fighter jet project. And what I'm seeing at the moment in the market is there's loads of this kind of activity going on at the moment, and I'll mention something very shortly for Finland. There's lots of military hardware acquisition going on at the moment, which is obviously great for our market. And we, you know, it's defence, and you know, it's good that we're spending in defence again. Yeah, the Leonardo guys have thrown their hat into the ring for the Turkish opportunity, which is rearing its head, and very interesting because I got an email through from Turkey this week asking me some questions as well. So this I picked up last week, so the screenshot that you're seeing is actually from a press release last week, and it was Boeing were about to buy KLX, which is a part company, and you know, we know that all of the support information around parts as well. I understand from a press release today that that's actually gone through and it's happened. It was a cash deal. Nice if you've got that kind of cash kicking around. But so that's an interesting purchase right there from Boeing. Loads of activity around Boeing actually this week, as there is around Rolls-Royce as well. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Boeing signs master supply deals with many top-tier companies, which again I think is exciting and interesting. You know, UTC's in there and listed in there, as are a lot of other organisations. Again, all of these that I mention will be linked in the blog post, which I'm actually prepared for this week. Normally it's a last minute, I try and hack it all together and then get it out, but actually it's ready to go. And I hope it'll be live tomorrow before close of business UK, which will mean that you can follow all of these links and you can go and have a look at these in full yourself. Now this one I thought it was a little bit sad, and I can't remember the ship name. It's HMS Forth from the Royal Navy. I believe it was going on some sea trials, and it essentially was deemed unsafe to go to sea and has been brought, I understand, back into dock. And I read something today that BAE Systems have admitted that you know, there's a load of snags, and I read another article that talked about some of the snags, and quite serious stuff, I think. So as I read more about this program, I understand that this ship class is a derivative of a Australian ship as well. So yeah, that's, again, I guess there's going to be a technical information impact there as they rush through and try and fix these things and get emergency procedures out and those kind of things. This one I thought was super interesting. I picked it up off LinkedIn midweek, and DITR, if you don't know what DITR is, you know, it's kind of S1000D but for everybody else. And you know, they have announced, and they professed this week on LinkedIn, that they have DITRified their entire website, which I think is obviously interesting. And my first response was, what, you weren't doing that already? You know, and we know that there are some standards and specifications out there that are produced not using the standards and specifications that they are promoting. But the DITR website, and again the link is below, is now all DITR, so you can see that actually DITR is all live and working and wonderful. Derby Rolls-Royce signs an engine deal with Airbus, and the article that I read, actually they positioned it as this was kind of a saving grace for Derby, and I'm not quite sure how overstated or understated that was. But the, you know, I know that there are some people at Rolls-Royce that watch what we do and they like what we do. And I know that somebody from Rolls-Royce Derby has actually signed up to the Innovation and Information Workshop, and look forward to meeting you there. So the it's an engine deal with Airbus. And again, there's lots of stuff going on with Rolls-Royce that I've picked up this week, and I've actually trimmed some of it down because I don't want this to turn into a Boeing, Airbus and Rolls-Royce show. This one's a German press release that I picked up through the week, and Boeing, again in the news with Diehl, my old friends at Diehl. They are they're positioning to do the Bewaffnung, which is the armaments of the Eurofighter. They're going to modernise them, or they're proposing to modernise them. And, you know, it's... Actually, there was a really interesting story about the Eurofighter, which I haven't included this week, but I'll mention it anyway because I'm that kind of guy, is that they, the German military is having a problem with export control around the Eurofighter at the moment, because I believe there's been some supplier changes or ownership changes, and that now means that there are some certifications that aren't in place, and it's meaning that the Eurofighter is having some problems. But anyway, that's, if you can't speak German, just Google it, and then Google Translate works. So another jet acquisition, and I read yesterday that BAE Systems have actually been invited to bid on this RFI, or this RFQ that's coming out for a new fighter aircraft for the Finnish Air Force. And they are saying that there's going to be like 300 local companies are going to benefit from this, and you know, lots of people are going to find employment and all of those wonderful things that we like to hear. But I guess, you know, a new fighter jet, lots of information, lots of support information, lots of infrastructure around that, which I think will be super exciting for the Finnish. In fact, the last time I got involved in a Finnish project, I think it was the Finnish Navy. I was involved in something on that. So very, very interesting. This I pulled out because this is a trend that I'm seeing. And when I was presenting at TDW Live last year, I talked about how there is an increase in many organisations are putting lots of effort into innovation cells and innovation experts within their organisations. Rolls-Royce, for example, when they came to our first, the guys from Bristol came to our first innovation information workshop, they were from some kind of innovation cell. And but this is really interesting. The Performance Review Institute are hosting a conference which they're saying that, you know, it's about shaping the future of the aerospace workforce. And I've reached out to these guys to kind of get the sense of what this is about, because this could be interesting for us and our sector. And, you know, are they even talking about that? And that aligns nicely with what I talked about last week. Air conditioning's going on. The stuff that I talked about last week, where the skills shortage in our market is, you know, is massive. And I wonder if this is something that they're looking at. So I'll have a look at that. Rolls-Royce, I'll just skip over this one because we're turning into a Rolls-Royce shop. And Hasso-Plattner have... They've partnered on the digital capabilities, and they're positioning it as Internet of Things and big data and all of this stuff. And as I've talked about at many workshops and shows and that I've been to, the information we produce is becoming more and more integrated into the product. It's becoming closer to the product, and you know, Rolls-Royce are at the front of this, and they've signed this agreement. Again, link below for your pleasure. When Apple get involved in stuff, you know that it's generally going to get lots of hype around it. And I saw this week that Apple had announced that they were going to do the first AR, VR combined headset. And they believe by 2020 that this will be available for the market, which I think is something that will be worthwhile looking at, and looking forward to having a look at that. So that's a story that we should keep an eye on. Absolutely. Rolls-Royce, here you are again, but they are now involved in the UK, as they are in many countries. They're putting lots of effort and energy into these emerging innovative capabilities, and AI is one of those, artificial intelligence. And Rolls-Royce, I believe this is a picture from their Bristol plant, and they're getting involved in this £1 billion, which is probably, I don't know, 1.3, 1.4 billion US deal for supporting the government in understanding and adopting artificial intelligence. And again, they're saying that this will all be around supportability information, and it will all work together nicely. This one came into my email this morning, and if you've done any of our tutorials on TDIQ, you know that we are users of the Adobe TechCom suite and the Adobe Creative Cloud platform. In fact, I was at DCS Sonovision this week, and we were talking about Creative Cloud, which includes things like InDesign and Illustrator and Photoshop and those, you know, Premiere Pro, After Effects, that kind of stuff. Well, now, because they have this license model, they're now saying they've made it easier for you to be able to manage your teams and the licenses around that, which was a little bit cumbersome in the past. Again, link to the video below, and that's interesting for sure. But DCS and I were talking about the Creative Cloud software, that, you know, DCS do lots of design work for, they have what is known as a design studio, and they have the Creative Cloud and that kind of stuff. And when we were talking about how some organizations are now thinking that you can use Illustrator in your technical information requirements. In fact, one client of mine is currently looking at Adobe Illustrator right now. This came in last week from CaseBank and from CAD IT, a press release. Again, we'll link it below. They have partnered to bring together advanced troubleshooting and diagnostic solutions around, I guess, you know, in it's all about the PLM and the SLM market for complex equipments and manufacturers. So very interesting press release. I did read it, and it looks pretty interesting. I'll reach out myself to CaseBank to maybe get a little bit more information and see if there's anything, maybe an interview or something we could do to promote what those guys are doing there. Very, very interesting. If you don't know who CAD IT are, based here in the UK, actually one of their managing directors used to be based down in Portsmouth, and I went down and had lunch with him a couple of times, and into the big of the Siemens PLM type software. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. Flatirons have, so if you don't know who Flatirons Jouve are, they a huge organisation. They acquired the Carina suite a couple of years ago, probably about 4 or 5, maybe a little bit longer years ago, and they, about a year and a half ago, I think they came together. Flatirons came together with Jouve and formed Flatirons Jouve, and I see now that they've carved out a piece of that organization, and they're calling it the I think it's the digitization or something, Flatirons Digital Innovations Inc. And I had a lovely email from Pat, who's a very nice chap at Flatirons Jouve, who told me kind of this restructuring that's going on within Flatirons, and it's so they can really deliver focused services to their customers in specific domains, and this is kind of, this sits nicely into that. Pretty exciting. And I read today as well that they are all relocated. There are some relocations going on at Flatirons, and they're all moving down to Boulder, which is where Pat is based, which I think is pretty interesting as well. So very, very interesting times and exciting times at Flatirons, no question at all there. CDS Defence Support, I'm going to mention you guys in the TDW bit as well on something that's coming our way, but congratulations, you won 2 MOD contracts, and I know you're making massive headway within the MOD, and you're big supporters of what we do here at TDW, and I just wanted to call out and say well done CDS Defence Support, and again winning more work within the UK MOD, so congrats guys. And moving on to some TDW stuff, and some of this is really important, so please do hang around. I know some of you only stay for the news and then bail. Please do try and hang around. The Tech Data Direct is something I talked about last week, and is the reason why we have decided to stop broadcasting to Facebook, because we are not able to say, which we're going to start saying next week, this Thursday Thoughts is brought to you by Tech Data Direct. Now, what is Tech Data Direct? Well, all of our vendors that are supporting us, it's now about how our customers and those that we support can find their perfect partners by going on and searching for a requirement, CSDB, S1000L, which I'll talk about in a minute, those kind of things, and you can find the people in the market that are supporting that and supporting TDW. So next week all of our content is going to start being sponsored by Tech Data Direct, which is our platform, and we can't do that on Facebook, but we can do that everywhere else. So all vendors should have received their notices. I know some of you have already sent in your corrections and alterations for the directory. Thank you for that, but all vendors, we are going live next week, so if it's not in, it's going live as is. S3000L is something that I am getting more and more involved with, and I'm getting more and more questions about. So came up during a meeting with 2 clients this week, and so what I've decided, I think there needs to be some kind of short brief study on S3000L, and we've had responses from all over the world, and I thought this was going to be predominantly a European thing, and it actually turns out that some major organizations in the US are actually looking at S3000L. So what am I asking you for? I'm asking you, if you could, which would be really nice, if you could take just 5 minutes to complete the S3000L study that we have on our website. It's about 4 or 5 questions. It asks you, do you know what it is? Do you plan to use it? How are you going to use it? How do you plan to educate yourself on it? And it's just so we can put some metrics together on the market. So the link will be below. GDPR, I mentioned briefly last week. Now this is what's really important, guys. These are really changing for the positive, I believe, the way that organizations like TDW can communicate with our database. And so we are using the GDPR, they come in, I think it's the 24th, 25th of this month, I might be wrong, where you have to prove that everybody that's on your mailing list asked to be on your mailing list. Now there are lots of say not so scrupulous organizations that scrape emails and grab emails off LinkedIn, or scrape emails off the internet and then load them into their mailing lists. We don't do that, but GDPR is meant to stop that. So what we are going to be asking, we've just recorded some videos, some videos that will be released on Monday, Tuesday next week. 2 parts. I'm not going to 2 parts. Now, the first part is, what is GDPR? How does it affect you? How does it affect TDW, and what you need to do? And the second part is GDPR follow on, how does it affect technical publications, and how does it affect what you need to do in technical publications, which is kind of what we're here to talk about. So what we're going to do is, you will only get access to part 2 if you watch part 1. And why is that important? Because at TDW we are asking, we've got a massive database of contacts, absolutely huge. We are asking everybody to reconfirm that they are happy to be on our mailing list. That means everybody that's on our mailing list needs to re-sign up to our mailing list. That means we become GDPR compliant, and it means that we can demonstrate and avoid 20 million euro fines that you all agreed to be on our mailing list. So that will happen next week, and after the 25th, if you haven't done that, you will stop receiving notifications from us here at TDW. That's the law. That's what happens. I just want to mention CDS again, CDS Defence Support. This weekend, if you didn't know and you don't know, in the UK here, it's a huge weekend. It's the Army, the British Army versus the Royal Navy. It's a rugby match, it's an annual rugby match, and CDS Defence Support has kindly invited TDW to join them in their hospitality box. But not only am I just bragging about that, I'm actually super stoked about it, but why am I mentioning that? They've given us permission to take our cameras and video stuff. So we're going to do a vlog, and we'll mention, so if you're following us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and that stuff, we'll post pictures throughout the day, but we're also going to do a vlog, and we will hopefully publish that towards the end of next week. But a massive shout out to the guys at CDS Defence Support for inviting us, because that actually means a tremendous amount. So this week I mentioned that I was on the road and I had 2 meetings. One, I was with Leonardo. You could probably just see it there. I sneaked a picture of the Apache in their reception area, and I was with the DCS Sonovision guys up in is it Lichfield, I think you guys are, and you had a load of your French colleagues over, and we sat and we talked a little bit about S3000L, Adobe, and you know, all kinds of stuff that's important to you guys, and some software and capability that you guys have that you may be interested in promoting in the wider TDW community and network. Leonardo, thank you. You signed up to our conference whilst I was there. DCS, you're currently discussing if you're going to exhibit this year, and you know, S3000L I think is going to be a big thing. So I guess it would make sense for you guys to be there. We're on time at the moment, guys, which is the first time in a long time. Right, a couple of questions that came in this week. One came in, does PTC Editor have off-the-shelf S1000D support like Adobe FrameMaker? Now, the reason you've asked this question is because you've followed along some of our tutorials, and our tutorials, we use a lot of the Adobe FrameMaker capability. Why? Because it's part of our technical communication suite subscription with Adobe, and it has some very basic S1000D capabilities off the shelf, and we use that in our tutorials, and we use that to demonstrate some capabilities and that kind of stuff. Anyway, you have been asked to use PTC Editor on another platform, another project, because of some areas of FrameMaker that you believe can't handle what your client needs. I didn't know the answer, so I suspected no, but I went to GPSL and I asked Andy Keefe and his team to answer the question for me. The answer is no, but they have some pretty impressive offers on at the moment, that if you buy PTC Editor through them, that you get access to a level of S1000D capability through PTC Editor as well. So you can get in touch with Andy Keefe through Tech Data Direct when it's live next week, and he'll be more than happy to talk to you about that, I'm absolutely sure. So no, as I suspected, and as I said during the meeting, I didn't think so, but you can certainly get in touch with GPSL. Now the big question that came in this week, and this is from a guy based in the United States, I'm not going to mention your name, who works for a very large space organisation. And you've signed up to our magazine and you've created an account on TDIQ and all that stuff, so welcome. You'll get a welcome email and message from me very, very shortly. But we've exchanged emails in the past, and you know, we've talked about you answered the S1000L survey as well, and the editor survey. You mentioned 2 editors that I've not got a tremendous amount of knowledge of, so I will be looking at those. But around the use of ASD S1000D in space. Now, I've sent you the answers previously and again, I think, but there are 2 programs that I've been involved with and I've had knowledge of that work with or have used S1000D. And one was the ALMA project, which was a space telescope that was based in Chile. And I was lucky enough to be involved in that program. I couldn't remember the name of the supplier that I was supporting. It's a few years ago now, but I will find out and I can send it to you. And in fact, Federico is a super smart guy, Italian guy, who implemented S1000D on that. I'd be more than happy to introduce you to him. And they used S1000D for that program, and they delivered IETPs and all that kind of stuff. And the second program that I was involved with was the Galileo project, which is the GPS satellite system for the European airspace. And they decided to use S1000D, and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago using the process module. They were looking at using the process module and how that could support their organisation and their platforms going forward. Now, when I first got involved in the program, I was thinking, well, space, surely, you know, you fire a satellite up into space and there's no maintenance we can do. There's, you know, we're not going to send a spaceman up there to start spannering on it. But it turns out that these things have lots of ground control systems that do get maintained and do get looked after and do require lots of complex information to support them. So those are the 2 programs that I know. Anybody else knows of any space programs that plan to or do use S1000D, please do get in touch with me, and I'd be delighted to learn more about that, because it's absolutely something that I would love to learn more about. So it's just, if you want to get in touch, I'll put these back up again. So that was really the news and everything this week, guys. I am almost bang on time, which is great. I apologise for the slight problems that we were having at the beginning, but I think we've done it in our 30-minute time slot. Again, please do let me know if, how and what you like from what we're doing, and if there's anything you would like to see different, or if there's anything that you would suggest that we introduce or add, or something that you would like to learn that we could add to our Thursday thoughts. I'll just have a quick check, make sure nobody's chatting to us. Nobody chatting to us by the looks of it. So hopefully, guys, you managed to follow along without too much of a problem. I understand from Jamie that there's a couple of videos on our YouTube channel. Great job, Mike, thank you very much. No problem. Okay, thanks for the positivity, but I want to hear what else you would like. What else would you like from us here at TDW? I think that would be really quite nice to hear as well, guys. But at this point, I'm going to close down the live stream, and I'm going to have a little lie down, I think. Is somebody chatting to me? Sounds like somebody's chatting to me. No, somebody's just joining us from Germany. Welcome. You've missed that. You've missed it. So you'll have to go to YouTube and watch the recording. But that's it, guys. Until next week, Thursday Thoughts, where hopefully we will have some great images and video, etc. from the Army Navy game. I just turned off the microphone. Speak to you next week, guys, and hopefully catch you next Thursday.